My name is Michael Dana. In 2008, I was diagnosed with a rare brain cancer, and after 6 years, I was cancer-free. But the ordeal left me changed, with a different outlook on life and a new sense of priorities. While still recovering, I earned a degree in economics from UNC Chapel Hill. My studies taught me to analyze data and open my mind to see things differently. I also started formal training in the martial arts to better defend myself and use it as a means of extreme physical therapy. Since then, I've obtained black belts in 3 martial arts. I own and run a martial arts school and have logged over 51 teaching hours. To my friends and family, I'm a simple business owner. But to the martial arts world, I'm something else. I am Sifu Mike, and this is Dragon Theory.
Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, and I hope you're virus free, okay? This video is not my typical Dragon Theory video. It's more of a making of the Dragon Theory, okay? Specifically how I made Dragon Theory. Alright, so a lot of this is going to be detailing how I went about making like the intro and stuff like that. So this is not a how-to, alright? This is how I, right? Because I'll be honest, man, everything that I did as far as like making the intro is going to be, it's just something you can do very easily in like 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. I didn't really know what I'm doing. I'm an economist, I'm a martial artist, okay, so I kind of had to figure this stuff out and use what I had, right? But I did it, and I'm going to be telling you how I went about doing this, okay? Like I said, everything you can do a whole lot easier. I mean, gosh, everybody has somebody or something that somebody else can do better, right? And so you just have to, be honest and be okay with that there's somebody else in the world who can do stuff a whole lot better than you can at something. And it doesn't matter, it could be anything, right? Anyways, this video is not about that, about the making of the Dragon Theory, okay? So, going way back to when I first started my YouTube channel back in like 2018, like May of 2018, I had this idea for the Dragon Theory, right? I didn't even have a title for it. I just had the idea. I was like, man, I want to make a web series about the martial arts industry, okay? But I didn't quite know how to go about that because, like I said, man, I'm an economist, right? And I'm a martial artist, and so videoing is not really my skill, even though I'm a huge film geek, right? I love film, I love special features, which is why I'm making this, right? It's the special features you get on the home video releases like DVDs and stuff. They have like the special edition and the deluxe edition and the 2-disc, everything. Even if it had one extra special feature, I was like, I'm in the bag, man. I bought all of those, man. I loved them. I love special features. I love kind of knowing how the sausage is made, right? And so even going back to, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I went and saw Jalen Silent Bob reboot, The Road Show with Kevin Smith, and somehow he got on a tangent where he was talking about like the finances of making a film, and I think I was the only one in the audience that I was like, this is cool, man, but like everyone else was like, why is he talking about like money and stuff and backers and whatever like that? So I'm like, but I was in the bag for it. I was like, cool, man, they don't talk about this in any of the special features because it was that boring. But it did have a funny twist at the end. That's what he always adds a point to a story. It's not one of those people who just talk for 30 minutes and then he's like, wait a minute, what am I talking about? I mean, sometimes he is, but most of the times he's not. Anyways, that was me getting sidetracked. Now, this video, right, so back in 2018, right, I started a YouTube channel. I was like, well, I don't quite have the skills necessary for a Dragon Theory web series like I wanted. So what I did is I was going to work on those things. So I had 2 things that I worked on. So Kung Facts is a video series that I made. It's a very short video series that is, an actual fact and a made-up fact and a joke, and there's a running gag throughout all like 24 episodes. So far, nobody has picked up on, and I'm okay with that because that still makes me laugh, the fact that nobody's gotten it. Alright, it's like an Easter egg that no one gets. But it's there, it's totally there, so I recommend watching all my Kung Facts videos. Now, that thing though was an exercise for me to be able to talk in front of the camera and do something that is scripted. Okay, every single one of those things I wrote them out as far as what I was going to do, and every line that I said had to be perfect, right? Because I wanted to do it in one take. That was another big thing, is I wanted to be able to do all of this without any editing and jump cuts and fades or whatever like that. So, I mean, to me, that's a huge skill, to be able to talk on camera uninterrupted for a long period of time. You know, I'm going at 5 minutes right now, and you know, no jump cuts. All right, that's what I worked on, man. And part of that was the Kung Facts videos, is that being able to nail all that stuff, hit all the right beats and topics within a certain amount of time frame, and do it in one take. Now, a lot of those average like a minute and a half kind of deal, and so they're kind of short and scripted, short and sweet, right? I got a little bit longer with a couple other ones. Now, the other skill that I worked on was being able to just talk on camera, right? That's where my Dragon Yawn video podcast came into play. Now, that's a much longer deal. I started off with like 30 minutes, and I was like, I'm going to talk for an hour because I can do that. I can talk a lot, right? I actually have done radio work in the past, and so talking was not an issue, okay? And I've taught a crap ton of martial art classes. I'm like 5,400 teaching hours at this point, and so just a lot of time actually being in front of people. And before that, I was doing music performance and stuff, so I'm like, I know all about that, but talking to a camera is a little bit different. It can be a little bit weird because you have to focus on right there on the center screen. I keep like veering off to one side because my monitor's right there, you know, but I need to like focus on that. And so the Dragon Yawn, the podcast, was a big part of that, as far as being able to talk on camera and be comfortable talking to pretty much nothing. Right now I got nobody here, and without the context of this camera in front of me, if I was just like talking and I wasn't even on the phone, somebody would probably be like, dude, that dude's crazy. You know, that's crazy talk. He's talking to nobody. He's talking to the voices in his head. Okay? Not the case on camera. Totally different thing, right? But it's something I had to work on. Most people, when it comes to a physical skill, they don't start off really good. You got to work on it. You know, that's why in martial arts we do reps. It's like, hey, throw that punch 1,000 times, 10,000 times. You know, try to be good at it. You know, there's a 10,000 hour rule that if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you are considered excellent at that thing. All right, so I'm over halfway there as far as teaching is concerned, you know, and as far as doing some other stuff in martial arts, I'm totally there, right? So that's the whole thing. It's like I wanted to get on that bandwagon early because I knew, hey, starting out, I'm not going to be good at it, and I don't want to wait till I'm good at it. I'm going to work towards it, right? And so, and enjoy that along the way. And that's, you know, Dragon Yawn, I totally enjoy talking, and it's not quite scripted, so it's also an exercise in like ad-lib and being able to spontaneously come up with content. Now, we do have like a cheat sheet, so to speak, of like, hey, we're going to be hitting these topics, but it's kind of like, it's like jazz, right? In that you have these certain things you got to get to, but how you get there, you get to play around, right? You get to go here and there and everywhere like that, and just have fun with it, and again, be comfortable talking to people and be entertaining. That's that's the whole goal, right? It's been a big amount of time doing that, and it was fun, right? And so, and that again helped develop the skills that lead me to the Dragon Theory. Now, after a few months, I was like, okay, I want to circle back down to this thing. I'm going to do this thing. I actually outlined like 25 episodes, so to speak, And then I started scripting them, right? And I wanted to make them like short and sweet and concise. I didn't want them to be over like 15 minutes. And so right now I got 5 episodes deep, and they're all averaging like 12 and a half. I got one that's 15, right? But I'm gonna keep it in that short and sweet window, right? And so that was the whole reason why I started scripting them out, because I wanted to make them kind of shorter and be really concise instead of just talking, because I can talk for a long time about anything, right? Especially now that I've like been doing it for a long time, I can totally just talk, right? Famous quote from Bono. Actually, I don't know if it's famous, but it's one that I like. If you have nothing to write about nothing. So if you have nothing to talk about nothing, right? That's the whole thing. So it wasn't so much the skill of what you're talking about as the skill of being able to talk. Alright, so keep that in mind. You can apply that to a lot of different things. Like I said, physical skill, man. And so what I did when I was scripting them out, though, I realized about halfway through, because I got half of them scripted out, and I realized that there was a whole lot more that I wanted to talk about as far as like certain teaching aspects. And so out of that became the Dragon Method, the dragonmethod.com, where I actually have much longer videos. I got like 40 videos that average 20 minutes long, because I can talk, right? But they're in a lecture format where I'm pretty much like this, teaching you what to do and not do as far as teaching martial arts to other people, right? And so that, the genesis of that, if you will, what the inception was, the Dragon Theory videos. When I was writing them out, scripting them out, I was like, hey, I can do a whole lot more, present more information. So if you go to the dragonmethod.com, you can find that there. I have a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm still going to make those videos. They're just going to be a little bit more concise, because I don't have to get all of the information out there, right? So that was the birth of the Dragon Method. But also in doing that, I kind of realized, oh, the general audience, when I say they, needs to know who I am and why I feel like I should be commenting, whatever, it's a word, on the subject matter that I am and why I'm doing it, right? And so I needed to get that across. It didn't quite have that, so I'm going to be circling back to that topic in a second. But that was the biggest thing. I was kind of like, oh man, how do I do this in the web series context of, like, if a person jumps in on episode 10 or whatever like that, how are they going to know who I am, kind of deal? And so why am I talking about this thing? And so, but I shelved that. I sidetracked and put that on the shelf, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the Dragon Method stuff first, right? Because I'm actually, if you go to the website, I charge money for it. It's a big thing, right? Teaching you how to teach a class and be efficient at it, right? Not just, make it easy for you to teach, but easy for your students to learn. So anyways, I put that to the side, focused on the Dragon Method. When that got done, I was like, well, let me circle back around to the Dragon Theory and actually kind of use those episodes as a means of like, hey, here's how the things are, but you should check me out on this website. And I go into greater detail. So it's almost like a slight subtle advertisement for the Dragon Method. It didn't start off that way, it just kind of happened to become that way. So, but I still needed like my intro, essentially. And I had it already scripted out that the first episode would be all about me. So I got that out there, very detailed 10-minute episode of me talking in detail about me, but I needed something short and sweet, right? And that's where the intro comes in. That's the bulk of what I'm going to talk about in this video. So I do it in phases, just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I got phases, right? Because hey, film geek, right? I'm going to be like borrowing stuff from like television and movies and stuff like that to kind of do what I do. Because if it's good, if it works, then why not? Why not? Don't reinvent the wheel, guys. If it's right there, you can do it. Now, don't like plagiarize and copy people, or copyright is copyright, that kind of deal. So, but if it's a good idea, it's a good idea, right? So the first phase is the animation, right? And I'm gonna be having like videos and cards that pop up on the screen to kind of give you an idea of what it is that I'm talking about, instead of just talking in the air, right? Because I can do that, all right? That wasn't a skill that I had to work on, man. I can totally talk, right? It's talking in front of the camera, that's a different thing. But I can totally talk. All right, so I didn't make that. I can just make words, right? Words that kind of make sense, you can kind of understand and interpret, and I'm like, oh, he's speaking English sometimes. Sometimes he's just from the South, right? Not making that. I'm talking about the making of the intro, right? Now, like I said, phases, so I've got to have these cards. So phase 1 is the animation, and I'm going to flash that up right now. Alright, so animation, right? Absolutely had no idea how to really do this, and it dawned on me like, bam, it's like a light bulb. I had an epiphany, right? Figured out how I could do this, okay? And this was like late November 2019, so this was probably early on, right? Long gestation period for the Dragon Theory web series. So I had this epiphany because in camera work, right, in video and film, the way cameras work is that they actually take a still image, but they take a lot of still images. Some cameras will take like 60 still images in 1 second, right? And what that does when you play them really fast, it gives the optical illusion of movement because it's a very still image. They do that in motion capture. They also do that in animation as far as like cartoons and stuff, right? Or even CGI, right? The difference is that in a camera, in this situation right now, the camera that I have is taking a whole bunch of still images of me to give the illusion that I am moving, and I got sound that matches with it, right? Now in animation, right, instead of capturing those images, you got to create them, right? And I can't draw anything, right? I can barely draw a stick figure, right? The only draw I have is a sun draw, right? I'm a southern gentleman if I want to be. I can put that out there. Actually, when I had a while back, I lost my voice, and it was like 3 octaves lower. It was really cool because I had this massive southern drawl with this bassy voice, and I was just talking like Colonel Sanders all day, man. It was awesome. And I even did it during one of my classes. I was tripping up one of my students by talking in this sounds like 2 and 3 and 4. That kind of deal. I can't even do it now. It's you had to be there, right? Take my word for it. Anyway, so animation, going back to that thing, had an epiphany. I was like, dude, I can totally make the images that I need in Photoshop because I know Photoshop. I know how to edit photos. And so I had this kind of logo design that I made for the series, and I was like, well, let me start with that, and I kind of want the yin-yang that's in the middle of it to be really big, and then kind of come really small, and then the logo and the words be on the side, right? That was the idea that was in my head that I wanted to see happen. Now, the way I went about that is in Photoshop, you can have various images have different layers, so you can edit the individual layer without editing the entire image, right? So what I did is I took the yin-yang, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to have, I did some math, because you gotta miss, I can do math, right? I got a piece of paper that says you can do math, right? I wanted to rotate 360 degrees all the way around, right? And I wanted to do it in 30 images, right? So doing math, I was like, okay, I just need to turn it by 12 degrees each time. Okay, I was like, cool, got it, right? Then I made it big, all right? And that's my mistake right there, is that I made it big and I didn't calculate the increasing the size with the rotation, okay? Big difference there because I increased it over twice as much. and didn't actually take that into my calculation. So instead of having 30 images like I originally wanted, I had something like 64. Okay, lots of images. I would just adjust it, shrink it, save it, adjust it, shrink it, save it. Did that over and over again, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I got a lot. I got more than the 30 I originally wanted, but I kept going, man. And so I was just chugging away, turn, shrink, save, turn, shrink, save, right? And then I got to the end of it, and I was like, oh man, I'm not quite as small as it needs to be. And I figured out only need 4 more still images to get it there. Then I was like, okay, let me take the logo, the written words, and fade them out, and each of those 4 images progressively fade them into their full length. Alright, so it kind of, again, giving the illusion that it's not quite spinning or shrinking or whatever like that. So, but yeah, so that's what I did. And I came up with a total of like 64 images. Now, after I had made my images, I used iMovie, and iMovie has this great thing where you can like select all the images in a row, and it'll import them in that exact same order. So I was like, yes, right? So I imported them, and I came up with a animation that was 11 seconds long. It's just over 11 seconds long, so it's not quite what you see in the finished product. Now, that's perfectly okay with me. I had a movie of still images, and the reason why that's okay with me is that when I did the Homer Cuts It video, okay, if you haven't seen that, go watch that, it's hilarious. With the Homer Cuts It video, I learned that if I take a still image and I put it on the screen, and then I screen capture and record that image, I can make a video of a certain length of that image. Now when I put it into my video editor, I got lots of editors. I got photo editors, video editors, audio editors, lots of editors. Technically, I'm an editor. Alright, anyways, I put it in the editor in the computer, and I can adjust the speed of the clip that I pull out of that, right? So 11 seconds, I just imported it back into the video editor and made it faster, so I shrank it down to 3 seconds, and boom, I had my animation. So after years, I figured it out, man. I made an animation. I was super happy about my animation. Once I got done, and that was like, when I started, it was like a 4-hour process of just like chugging away at those pictures. Like I said, turn, shrink, save, turn, shrink, save, right? Took me forever. Now, I've talked to a couple people, and one person in particular who teaches like animation to high schoolers, and he was like, yeah, it looks really good, and we use this program, we could have done that in 5 minutes. So I'm like, whatever, man, I'm happy I did it, right? And so, anyways, that brings me to my next phase, phase 2, alright, the voiceover. Okay, with the voiceover is actually the easiest thing that I could do in this whole process because I'd done radio before, and so I knew that, and I've also done a whole lot of audio production work and stuff like that, so it was just a matter of recording me talking, which is what I'm doing now, only it's with radio kind of stuff. It's audio only, right? So I didn't have to look nice and stuff like that. In fact, I did it all on my desk, right? And recorded it right into my computer. So what I did is I had this script that I wanted to do. Now the script is specifically a complete and total ripoff of the intros that you would see in the CW Arrowverse, okay? The shows like Arrow and The Flash and Supergirl, they all have the exact same intro, okay? Beautiful stuff, man, because what happens is that in the intro, they tell you like who they are, right? How they get their powers, what they're doing, and then they kind of announce their superpower or super name, right? And so like who they are, superhero and stuff like that. So basically, I accomplish everything that I need to do, and I make myself a superhero, right? But that was the thing. I was like, this is great. You can come in at any moment and automatically kind of know the general premise of this show, right? And then they do like a recap of like last week on The Flash or whatever like that, and so that you can kind of understand the more detail of that particular episode. But in general, you know what the series is based on that little 1 minute intro. So I totally sentence per sentence was like, I'm gonna, because this timing wise will work out. So I did that, and I wrote a thing about me in the same vein as the Arrowverse stuff. So anyways, I did that, and then I went back around to recording. Now, with the recording, I didn't really rehearse that at all, or practice it. And so I just had it printed out on a sheet and had it in front of me. And I did basically one line at a time. And I was gonna edit it all together and make one big thing, and just did multiple takes of that. Okay, now I think I did like 6 minutes and 19 seconds total. So you take the actual time is about 53 seconds. And so, you know, I spent a lot of time just individual line by line deal, and then at the end of it I was like, you know what, I've got some practice on this, let's just try like one take, just go for the whole thing. And I nailed it almost. I forgot one word, and I'll circle back on to the next phase. I'll correct that one word, but hey, I did it all in like one take, man, so it was awesome. So once I finished that, it was on to phase 3, okay, which is the actual video and putting it together. Alright, so phase 3. Alright, so now the making of the intro video. Now going back to animation, they always do the vocal work first, because it's easier to match up the animation that you're drawing to what's already been recorded. In fact, a lot of the vocal performances, they'll videotape the actor who was doing that, so that that performance can then influence the drawing that they do. And so you see that. And that's what I learned from, well, I'd known that from watching special features, but one of the biggest things, the way I learned how to do that, was a video called it's a trailer. It's a trailer for a book by Robert Aldrich called Rest for the Wicked. I made a trailer for that. It was super fun, but it was the same deal. It was record the voice first, right, and then I matched up a bunch of still images. But because I had done the Homer Cuts It video, I was able to also match up moving images. So it was a mix, right? This intro is a mix of still images and moving images based on what I'd already recorded, right? It was the easiest part to it. And so I just put them all in there. I tried to arrange pictures and videos that tell kind of a story, that are kind of exemplify what it was that I was talking about at that time. Like at one point I was talking about how I'm an economist from UNC, so I put in a bunch of pictures from me at UNC, kind of deal. And so I talked about how I have 3 black belts, so I showed a picture of each one of those kind of deals. And so I was able to put it together, right, based on the intro that I already recorded, the audio, right. Now that's also when I kind of came across the fact that I screwed up and left out one word, right? And instead of saying 51,000 hours, or 5100, I just said 51. I left out one word. And so then I was able to just kind of correct that with subtitles and say, actually, 5200. I really need to go back in and redo it and be like, actually 5400, and just kind of update that as I go. But that doesn't really matter. It just means I've taught a lot. Now, finish the video that brings me to my last deal, phase 4, alright, the music. And that's my biggest thing, phase 4. Alright, so with the music is a big thing for me, alright. I was in the music industry before all this and had been in it for a while. Music is my big thing, audio recording, audio production, right, stage performance, everything. I had at one point 6 guitars. I've got 5 now, And you know, I'm like, that was my biggest thing. I spent a decade working on not only being able to play guitar, but being able to sing. At my high point, I was a 4-octave tenor, and I really truly regret not having any kind of recording of when I was sounding my best. The reason why I didn't continue down that path was because of brain cancer, alright? And then that does a whole lot of things, and it was really, I'll be honest, it was really hard for me to actually get back into that in any way, shape, or form, because all it did was kind of remind me of what I'd lost, right? And so it took like 6 years before I even picked up my guitar. This is now 12 years later, but I did. I picked up my guitar, and what's interesting that I found was that because of my training and everything as far as the grip strength for the weapons and everything that I do, my hand was actually much better at fretting than it used to be. It used to be all like power chords and heavy metal, like palm mute and deaf, you know, just strum really fast, right? Can't really do that because my hands don't really match up as far as my brain talking to my hands, right? Long story, watch my first video, and I go into greater detail as far as that is concerned. But it makes playing guitar kind of hard when you can't match up both hands, right? However, what I found though is that I can actually solo a whole lot better than I used to. So I have a new skill, man. This is awesome, right? I can solo. And so I had this melody in my head as far as what I wanted to play, and for 2 weeks, man, I worked like all the time. I didn't even have an electric guitar, didn't even play it up, didn't even bother having it in tune. I just wanted to get that motion down as far as what this hand can do. This hand, just put it there, it's like I'm gonna hit one string, right? But so I did. Worked on it for 2 weeks, and then finally was like, okay, I'm gonna plug up my amplifier. I have a Flextune 212 amplifier, so Flextune 2, and the thing is, it has a lot of different sounds. I have a pedal board, and so what that amp is designed to do is basically emulate any other amp. Alright, so the possibility of sounds that you can get are just infinite, man. That's why I love it. It also has a studio mode, so I can switch it to that, and what the studio mode does is that it turns off those big speakers, man. It's 212 amplifier. I can, like, you know, everybody in my apartment complex would know that I'm playing my guitar if I didn't have that, right? And so that's my amplifier. The guitar I was using, in case you're curious, is a Washburn Idol. It's an electric guitar that has a voice control knob instead of a tone knob. Now, a tone knob is what you would find on most guitars. That essentially takes out or manipulates the high frequency tones within the pickups that the pickups pick up. I just said pickup a lot. The voice control actually takes out the mid-range, okay? And the reason why this is cool is that you can have a pickup, and with the voice control turned all the way up, it sounds like a humbucker. If it turned all the way down, it sounds like a single coil. And so you have two of them, and you have voice controls for each of them, so you can kind of mix and match. You just have an infinite number of tones that come out of the same guitar. Why I like it. So you match that guitar without him, you can do anything, man. Studio musician at heart, right? And so I had that. That's what I used, and had this melody. And again, only 53 seconds ish is what I had to record. Now, what I did is that I made the video, played it on one laptop, recorded it on another. Okay, so I was doing 2 laptops at the same time because I had to watch this thing. Now, with most video work and putting music to video, it's not so much you have a set rhythm, alright? Sometimes it's just out of sync, right? And so you can't really go for a set rhythm, which is great because I can't really do a set rhythm with my hands, right? But I can follow along with what is presented on the strings, and I make sure that I hit beats whenever I'm talking, right? And so that was the thing. And I went through and I recorded this, and I realized, man, I can actually, you can do everything that I did in one guitar part. I did 2 because I just wanted to make it sound better and not have to work as hard. I mean, I did spend 2 weeks on this, but in that recording thing, figured out, I went through several different variations of playing the same thing, and I was like, the best thing to do would actually just be doing one with the chords and then one with the solo with the notes, right? So I did one with just the chords, put that into it, made the video, was like, this is awesome, I'm gonna make it better, right? So a week later, went back after I've been practicing the same deal and did the solo and added to it, and it was awesome. And so then I recorded that, put that into the editor, put it all together, exported the whole thing, and it was awesome. And quick little detail, when I recorded the video the first time, right, remember I had two computers, so I had to hit play on one, record another, and then play, right? To give me enough time for that, I actually came up with a 10-second intro to my intro. It's a countdown, right? A 1-second countdown for still images so that I can be ready. So I can hit play, then record, and go kind of deal, and be ready for it, not like rushing kind of deal. And so that I put that on there. And so when I got it all together, right, I took that off and had my intro, had my 53-second intro, my 2 guitar parts, and the fact that I did every single thing, right? I did the voiceover, I did the scripting, I did the animation, the video editing, and music, and the composition, just every single part of that I did. And that's the thing that, like, I take away from that, because like I said, you can hire people to do everything that I did in like 5 minutes, right? But it was the fact that I did it. That's what I got enjoyment out of it, is that I did it. And so, that's going to remain something that's always going to stick with me, that yes, I worked really hard at this. The work was fulfilling. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of stuff. Like, this is probably going to be a much easier process in the future when I go to do other stuff like this, now that I've done it before. But I enjoyed every part of it. So it wasn't so much the destination, it was the journey. That's what I enjoyed. And that's what I want you to take away from this whole thing, is that sometimes the journey is much better than the destination, which is a lot like life. Life is a whole lot nicer than the end, which is dying, right? You don't want that. Nobody does, right? And so, we want to enjoy what we're doing at that time, right? And it's okay to work hard at something if it has a good purpose kind of deal. And so that's what I enjoy, because one of the things that I really don't want to be is one of those persons that works so hard trying to put their best foot forward, and they spend so much time on that they never actually take the step. All right? I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy who spends so much time planning how I'm going to make my entrance that I actually never go through the door, or when I do go through the door, party's over, right? I want to go ahead and get that ship out there, because it's not so much how you begin something, it's how you end, all right? That's going to be the biggest, most important thing ever, right? And so, I want to create, I want to produce, right? I want to make something, right? And that's like the biggest takeaway from this. I am super excited, so excited about this intro that I made a 40-minute deal talking about the whole intro. Like the first part is like 10 minutes, right? But then 30 minutes talking about all these, intros. Just the very simple thing that could have been done in like 5 minutes by somebody else. I did all of that, and it was super rewarding and super fun, and I get to share that with you guys, right? That's the whole thing, is that I did this all for you, right? Yay! But I also did it for me. It was super fun, man, and playing my guitar again, like I said, awesome, and having it sound cool, right? And so yeah, that's my making of the Dragon Theory of the intro and the whole web series, which I plan to do more. Like I said before, I've got scripted out like 25 episodes, so I'm going to be doing a lot of this. I'm going to be trying to do as much of this as I can, and hopefully for your enjoyment. Hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, be sure to click the bell, alright, and subscribe. And I don't even know where the bell is at. I'm always just pointing downwards. Okay, so subscribe. My channel is YouTube/tkfmma. Okay, I got a Facebook/tkfmma, Twitter/tkfmma, Instagram/tkfmma. I also got one for the Dragon Method. Okay, I've got dragonmethod.com and Dragon Method Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Not so much YouTube, because why? I got one channel. That's all I need. So, like I said, subscribe to this thing, share it, like it, all that good stuff. Check me out on all the other social medias. And I'm going to be having a whole lot more of this stuff that I'm going to be putting out. Not just Dragon Theory, but hopefully more podcasts of the Dragon Yawn and Kung Facts. And I got a lot of stuff at the dragonmethod.com. Okay, that's not where I just teach a person how to teach martial arts. I'm going to be teaching you what to teach. I'm going to be teaching about the different martial arts and what to do them and how to punch and how to kick and all that kind of stuff. Man, everything that I know and teach, I'm going to be putting on a video, and I'm going to make it available on the dragonmethod.com. Alright, so definitely check that out, and I will see you again. See you soon. Actually, I'm not really going to see you guys because, like, I can't see a thing without a camera. You're going to see me. So, see me soon. Alright, bye guys.